Thank you, everybody, and welcome to paper session number 4. My name is Cara Jones. I am the University Librarian of the American University in Sharjah, and I'm pleased to have you here with us for this session today, either in person or virtually. Thank you for your patience and understanding as we iron out a few technical issues. We are good to go. Just to give those of you joining us virtually a little taste of what it's like, it's showery in Miami today. We had our first deluge this morning where it really came out of the sky. So it's lovely to be here. I'm going to introduce the speakers in speaking order, and they will join us, all of them, on stage today. We have 3 presenters here. So our first presenter, I'm going to introduce our presenters by their first name. Our first presenter is Jukka from Turku University in Finland. He's the head of library services at the University of Turku. He's also a PhD student studying doctoral students' research data management competencies and competence needs. By training, he has an MSc and is a vocational teacher. He's responsible for metrics, RDM, open publishing, and CRIS services at the University Library. His presentation today is called Doctoral Students' Research Data Management Competencies based on the quality of their data management plans. Welcome to the stage.
So, my name is Jukka Rantasaari. I'm a head of library services in Turku University Library, Finland. The University of Turku, or UTU, is the 3rd largest research-intensive university in southwestern Finland, with 8 faculties, 5 independent units, and 21,000 students, including 2,000 doctoral students and 3,300 staff members. Åbo Academy University, or Swedish OAU, is the only Swedish language multi-faculty university with 5,500 students and 1,100 staff members in Finland. Next, I will give you a presentation of the subject of my upcoming 3rd article on my PhD project. In 2016, Nature Journal conducted a survey for researchers, asking them, is there a reproducibility crisis in science? 52% of the 1,576 researchers answered that yes, and the crisis is significant, meaning that the results of many scientific studies cannot be reproduced and are thus likely to be wrong. Research data is all the information systematically acquired, processed, and analyzed into new knowledge in academic research. Thus, data is a means to validate the research results. By documenting the data meticulously and sharing it linked with the research paper, other researchers and users can understand, verify, and reuse the data and better reproduce the research. Of course, better data management alone may not be enough to secure the reproducibility, but if a researcher from the start of the project is committed themselves to the transparent research process and, when possible, open sharing of the data, they certainly pay much more attention to the sound and systematic collecting, processing, and checking practices throughout the research project. According to the data policy of the University of Turku, or UTU, researchers will be offered training and support in research data management, RDM, and in writing data management plans, or DMPs. The library is responsible for creating and coordinating trainings and support in RDM for researchers. In 2018 and 2019, I interviewed 35 doctoral students, supervisors, and biostatisticians in the University of Turku to learn the perceived importance of research data management or RDM competencies and doctoral students' current competencies. The biggest gaps in skills were found in planning of RDM, documentation of data processing, and managing IPR and contracts issues. However, Besides aforementioned, doctoral students lack knowledge of different RDM issues throughout the data lifecycle. Therefore, I started a working group together with the leader of the biostatistician team of the University of Turku and invited academic and research support professionals to plan and teach a course on RDM for doctoral students and postdoc researchers. In 2020, we extended the course to Åbo Academy University, or Swedish AU. Here we can see an illustration of a 10-week 3 ECTS credits multi-stakeholder basics of research data management, or BRDM course structure, its contents, and responsible teachers. The course consists of 4 tracks. There's introductory lecture, 7 modules, voluntary question and answering session, and a final assignment. The teachers are researchers, data librarians, lawyers, IT specialists, biostatisticians, and repository professionals. The thinking behind this 4-track-based division is that the data management actions needed and applied depend partly on the type of the data, partly on research methods, and partly on discipline. In Module 1, each participant developed their own research plan. After that, based on their research plan, during the course, they wrote a data management plan, DMP, using a Finnish general data management plan template and guidance. Each module's post-class assignment was to update a DMP's relevant section, informed by the discussion in the module's workshop. At the end of the course, everyone returned their DMPs and gave a structured, anonymous peer review report of another participant's DMP. Finally, I gave a general level and personal feedback to everyone. In total, 217 doctoral students and postdoc researchers participated in the BRDM course in 2020 and 2021. 67% of them, that is 145 participants, completed the full course, whereas 33% completed on average 4 modules according to their interest in the subjects. Here in this figure, we can see the number of the participants by their disciplines who completed the full course and returned their DMP. The biggest disciplines were social sciences, business and economics, health sciences, and science and engineering. The aim of this paper is to study doctoral students' RDM competencies as they are manifested in the DMPs developed by the participants during the BRDM course. For that purpose, 145 DMPs from the years 2020 and 2021 have been assessed so far, and 80 more from the year 2022 will be assessed. The preliminary results showed in this presentation are based on those 145 DMPs from the years 2020 and 2021. I aim at answering the questions: what is the quality of the course participants' DMPs as rated according to the criteria of Finnish DMP Evaluation Guidance, or FDEG? What kind of differences were found between DMPs regarding the year, discipline, course track, or other background variables? My thinking is that participants' DMPs illustrate how well they have learned the concepts and principles of the different aspects of RDM during the BRDM course, and how well they can apply those principles in their own data management planning. So I analyzed DMPs regarding the key themes in RDM learned in the course, which are description of data collected, produced, and used in the project, legal and ethical viewpoints, such as how they will settle the IPR, ownership and usage rights issues, and how they are going to handle personal and sensitive data, documentation and the quality control of data, containing description, how a researcher makes sure that the documentation of the data lifecycle is sound, understandable, verifiable, and reusable for others. Using safe and secure storing solutions, sharing and preserving solutions for data or metadata, containing descriptions of funders, publishers, or institutions, recommendations, or demands for data sharing, preservation, or disposal, and the roles, responsibilities, resourcing, and budgeting, the RDM practices before, during, and after the research project. For assessing and rating the DMPs and their sections, I used the Finnish DMP evaluation guidance's FDEG's 3-point criteria and scale from 0 to 2. Yeah. For analyzing the results of my ratings, I used SAS Jump Pro 16 statistical software to produce descriptive and inferential statistics. As far as differences regarding the year, discipline, or course track are concerned, the differences were statistically insignificant. The median of all DMPs prepared in 2020 and 2021 courses combined was 1.01. However, I found statistically significant difference between DMPs in relation to another background variable. This variable is a data table. A data table was recommended to be created and included in the DMP, but only about half of the DMPs contained it after all. Here's an example of a data table, categorizing data types and giving information of the data, such as data type and source, file format. Does the data type contain personal information, usage rights, metadata or documentation, storage, sharing and preserving, and estimated size of a data type? To sum up, a data table is a clear categorization of data types reused, collected, and produced in a research project. Besides data type, it contains information about the format, volume, and usage rights of every data type handled in the project. The median of DMPs containing a data table was 1.09, and the median of DMPs without a data table was 0.97. In the figure on the right-hand side is illustrated the impact of a data table to some key characteristics of DMPs. As we can see, data management plans containing a data table more often had concrete and detailed descriptions of RDM practices, more often had permissions asked for data sharing, more often had collaborators' usage rights specified, and more often had data type specific storing solutions chosen. About the concreteness of RDM descriptions, what do I mean for that? I mean, for example, that the quality control actions, that they were specified, not just mentioned. And another example, the basis and actions needed to handle personal information, that they were described, not just mentioned that general data protection regulation or GDPR will be followed. And third example, ownership of data was justified, not just stated. In this figure are illustrated the median ratings of the different sections of DMPs in 2020 and 2021. On X-axis, on the bottom line there, on the downside of the picture, are listed the sections of the general Finnish DMP template. On Y-axis, on the left-hand side, we can see the scale of my rating of the DMP's sections from 0 to 2. The green bars stand for the section-based median ratings for all DMPs in 2020 and 2021. And as I said before, the median of all DMPs was 1.01, meaning they are satisfactory. It is comprehensible that the storage and security are nearly at an excellent level, because almost all the storage solutions served by the universities of Turku and Åbo fill the need of safe and secure storage for any data types. Another major variance can be seen in the section 6. The plans how to share the RDM roles and responsibilities between collaborators in a research project are between satisfactory and excellent, whereas the plans how to resource and budget the practices, they are between poor and satisfactory. On one hand, it's not a good thing that authors of the DMPs could not evaluate the needed timely and financial resources needed to data management actions. But on the other hand, many authors emphasized that they saw research data management as an intrinsic part, not an extra burden of research process, which is of course a very good thing. Otherwise, there is no major variance between the DMP sections when it comes to all DMPs. But these yellow bars, they represent the median ratings for DMPs containing a data table. And the blue bars are the median ratings of the DMPs that do not have a data table. As we can see, the DMPs with a data table receive the highest median ratings in all sections. Especially description of data types, taking care of data quality and documentation, handling IPR issues, data security and distribution of RDM roles, they are markedly higher compared to DMPs without a data table. In this figure are illustrated the key themes in RDM and to what extent they appeared in the rated DMPs of 2020 and 2021. Thus, in 77% of the DMPs, the authors intended to share metadata. In 70% of the DMPs containing personal data, the authors had chosen only safe and secure storing platforms for the personal data. In 59% of the DMPs, the authors intended to share at least part of the collected or produced data. These just as a few examples. However, further learning needs remained as well. For example, in only 8% of the DMPs, the authors had acknowledged funders or publishers' data sharing policy. In only 18% of the DMPs containing personal data, the authors had named a data controller as is demanded in General Data Protection Regulation or GDPR of the EU. And in only 21% of the DMPs, collaborators' different usage rights had specified. So, what are the conclusions so far based on these preliminary results? We can conclude that on average, DMPs were satisfactory, and that's a good enough in the beginning of a research project. However, a DMP is supposed to be a live document that should be updated and specified during the research project. The quality of the analyzed DMPs did not differ according to participants' discipline or course track. One reason for that could be that the teaching and instructions in BRDM course specifically highlighted sound and fair principles and practices in RDM instead of existing cultures and practices in different disciplines. Moreover, the impacts of discipline, research method, and data type on differences in RDM practices can often be interweaved. A data type specific classification improved descriptions of data-related actions and hence raised the overall quality of a DMP statistically highly significantly. DMPs with a data table better acknowledged data handling needs of different data. Overall, applying the principles of sharing the metadata or data when possible and using only safe and secure storing platforms were on a good or satisfactory level. Almost 80% of the authors of the DMPs intended to share metadata, and almost 60% intended to share at least part of the research data. 70% had chosen only secure storing platforms. However, only 1/3 of the authors conveyed that they had asked permission to share the data. Only a quarter had settled the legal base of handling personal data, and only a fifth had chosen the controller for the personal data. And finally, just under 40% named and justified the owner of the data. That's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for reporting the results of that study. Very interesting. I'd like to invite our next speakers to come up to the stage. We have two colleagues who have joined us today from Slovakia. We have Jitka. Yes. And Jitka has been working in the field of academic libraries and information science since 2000. She worked as a library manager for the British Council in Slovakia and as a freelance trainer in academic publishing. In recent years, she has concentrated on the area of open science. At the beginning of 2019, she became head of department for the support of open science at the Slovak Center of Scientific and Technical Information in Bratislava. Since 2018, she's been actively involved in the Open Air Advanced Project for the Slovak Republic. Okay, I'll also introduce, shall I introduce Joseph as well now? Yeah. Joseph, do you want to come up? Joseph has worked as library director at Slovak Technical University and Deputy Director General for the Slovak National Library. In 2014, he became Director of Research Library at the Slovak Center of Scientific and Technical Information in Bratislava. In recent years, he's been working in the area of digital preservation, artificial intelligence in library services, and digital skills development. Thank you so much.
Hello, I am a little bit throaty today, so please, I do apologize and be patient with me. So the one who visited the poster session today, then he or she knows that my colleague Zuzana at home in Slovakia, she presented both Slovakia and the Slovak Center for Scientific and Technical Information. So just briefly, Slovakia is a small country in the center of Europe, and our organization is the research library, who is the national level, promotes and providing services in the field of research and technology, and promotes science and technical development in the country. Now straight to the point already. As you already know, open science is a kind of modus operandi today. In January 2020, Professor Yang Zhenzhan in Shanghai got on his table a sample of a virus for sequences, and very quickly he found that it's very contagious virus, and then he faced really a difficult situation, because traditionally he would publish this result in traditional journal. The article would be peer-reviewed, then the publisher would be involved in the publishing process, and usually approximately this process takes about half a year or even more. In this stage, he decided to take a risk, and he published this result openly at the portal virological.org. And it said that this step really accelerated medical involvement and development. So today, I think that nobody can say that open science cannot benefit the society, and it really brings its benefit. But what about academic libraries? Does open science brings to academic libraries' benefits or threats. So let's find it in our presentation. Today, open science involves not only open access to academic and research publishing, but also other elements such as open data, open methods, open labs. And we can view open science in the center of academic publishing, and we can see academic library from the point of view of open science, touching things such as policies. At the beginning of 20th century, we have some international policies such as declarations in Budapest, Berlin, or Bethesda. Then in 16, we have already European Declaration for Free Access to Research Information. And last year already the European Union published open research data publishing, which set this open publishing of research data as a mandate. So you'll see that open science is really stressed today, and that the library is sitting not only in the middle of publishing, but also in the middle of academic policies and also evaluation. And what about, what are the roles of academic library in open science? At least our library, the Slovak Center for Scientific and Technical Information, takes these 4 roles: educator, advisor, enabler, and promoter. Open science opened up many new opportunities for us. In the past, we usually educated users in using electronic resources, searching electronic resources, finding information. And today it opened up many other topics. Since 2018, we introduced a new accredited course, which is focused on open science. And since 2018, we have already trained over 100 of participants. It's based on train the trainer element, and we trained all librarians and who can promote and pass this open science information in the country. We also do a lot of webinars, usually per month. We promote academic topics and academic publishing, such as data management, academic writing, other open science elements, such as preprints and principles. Twice a year, regularly, we realize events such as workshops for publishers, and then we celebrate open access weeks, who many of you probably already know. And what about the library as an advisor? Again, in the past, the library used to provide its expertise in guidance in traditional resources. And we also published some guidance and guides. This one is focused on academic publishing generally, but the other one is Creative Commons topic, and it's really focused for those who want more information about Slovak intellectual property legislation and author rights and Creative Commons licenses. The third role of the library, we can say it's an enabler. We took part in the national open process of building national open science strategy. This strategy was approved by the Slovak government last year in June, and we really actively participated in this process. We approached the individual stakeholders, funding agencies, universities, and research institutions, asked them about the feedback, and this feedback we passed to our authority for processing and involvement. This strategy involves these 9 strategic points and focuses. You see, it really involves from the point of open access publishing to open science infrastructure, intellectual property rights, to reinforcing academic community with open science skills and supporting citizen science. I already said something about our focus, our services on academics, researchers, and students, but we also provide our services to international stakeholders, such as Open Air. We are the member of Open Air project, Open Air institution, and we are also a member of IOSC Association. And of course, we provide our services to national stakeholders, such as the Ministry of Education or other important institutional stakeholders. And last but not least, we provide our services also to wider public and wider general community. To develop and implement interaction between citizens, science, and community, we in the library we developed the course, the online course, in the cooperation with University College London. It's published online on MOOC platform, and it's called Let's Start with Citizen Science. It involves such topics and parts such as project designs, data and ethic issues, project impact, and many other things. It really involves things such as collecting data, copyright issues. Citizens are involved in collecting data during applications or throughout applications. And the benefit for scientists is in the collecting data, and really a big amount of data which couldn't be brought by himself. So these are the benefits of open science to community and to the library. And more about how to open the community, my colleague Joseph Dzivak will tell you.
Hello, everybody. It's nice to meet you here. So I would like to continue a little bit with the open science, but from the point of community. Usually when we're talking on open science, it's usually related to scientists, universities, research institutes, and so on, but it's not really about the general public. And I would like to talk a little bit about that. So when I was in Phoenix in October 2019, I was quite inspired by the presentation of American Medical Library, which was working with the public libraries to spread the information on health and health issues around the US through the public libraries, which was really inspiring. I didn't estimate that in 3-4 months later, it's gonna be topic for all of us. So what we did first was that we opened our collections to general public, so all citizens could sign up to our library and could use the informations we have, but on the other side, they are not really familiar how to do it. So we developed our approach, how to do it. But on the other side, during the COVID, something strange happened, and it was that the schools, universities were closed. And after 2 years, we are really feeling that especially young people are losing skills, social skills, but also technical skills, IT skills, almost all the skills. So, and on the other side, it looks like the COVID accelerating Industry 4, which means like new way of how to make things, and it needs a lot of knowledge, a lot of education to be able to take part in a new era of Industry 4. So my other part of presentation is going to be more about the digital competencies building, but it's even more problems we are trying to solve, but it's takes more time to talk about them. So I will be focusing on digital competencies. So what's the problem with the public is that they're afraid of science, and especially robotics and robots. Why that happens? So in 1920, Karel Čapek, Czechoslovakian or Czech author, wrote a book where he first used the word robot. So robot came from Czech and Slovak language. Nobody knows how that happened because he was writing the book in Slovakia. So let's say it's Czechoslovakian word, and then it was widely adopted around the world. But the interesting thing is that the book was on how people start making robots, and in the end, the people were annihilated by robots, and they built their own civilization. So even the first word was used as a robot, it was really disaster for the humanship. So that's why I really understand why the people are afraid of Industry 4. On the other side, at the moment, it looks like the robots are doing the human things and people start to work on robotical stuff. Could you see the images here? So, but what is really Industry 4 about? So usually we think it's robotics, it's IT, but in fact, it's a complex environment of topics like sensor systems, information network, logistics, IA, new materials. And in the end, it results in a fact that the personalized products gonna be cheaper than mass-produced products. This needs a lot of knowledge, and our people are not ready for that. So what we wanna do is that we need to develop education in the general public, which allows them to understand science and then later on join scientific research or became scientists or at least do a lot of expertise in the industry. And there is another big challenge, and it is that when the kids start their education, they start in a kindergarten, but the education ends usually in 25 years when the people live in universities. But then there is no real education until the people retired. So for 40 years, there's almost no education for them available. And the environment is changing really rapidly. So we want to help in that. So what we're trying to do is to bring digital competencies to all ages of the society. So as you can see at the picture, we're starting in the kindergartens, where we're trying to let kids understand the basics of physics, which we developed the 12 courses already on that. And we plan to continue with the logic, mathematics, and the other things. My experience from China, when I was there like 3 or 4 years ago, was that the kids in China starting to educate themselves from 2 years already, because the parent thinks that they are not able to meet requirements for education when they enter the schools. So they really start very soon, and we could really see the results of the education system where China's developing pretty fast. Then on the other side, we're continuing with the kids, where they're trying to provide them with some understanding on manufacturing, digital manufacturing technologies. So for example, they're playing, but on the other side, they're understanding how the laser cuttings work in, how to make the logistic, how to solve the problem of the little city when the little robots are moving around. And they just not any programming tools. It's just a small robot and a pen when they writing roads for the robots. On the other side, this allows us also to work with the marginalized communities and low-income communities. As you can see the pictures, there's a special school for gypsies from central Slovakia, which we were working with. Regarding the teenagers, they already are able to work on the more difficult stuff. So they are already able to program simple robots. They're able to work with the 3D printing and digital manufacturing. And we are really happy that the community of our little girls were invited by our president, Mrs. Chaputova, to meet her in a presidential palace where she was discussing the development and IT skills for the girls and the women's in the country. And adults. This is probably the most challenging community because most of them were not growing in the digital era and they are not really prepared for it. So we treating them like kids. So they're starting from the beginning. But in the end, they're very enthusiastic. And as you could see, they are able then to program their own guitars on the chips and so on. And through the very simple topics, they are introduced to programming of the big industrial digital manufacturing machines. And also we are not forgetting on retired people and pensioners, which are also interested, and they also need to know what they're gonna face in the near future. And what was really fancy, that family starts to participate on our training. So the kids are spending the time with the parents. And in the last time, we are getting more and more requests from the organizations and companies to organize trainings for the parents and kids together in our premises. So to be successful in that, even we are a very small country, we build a network of smart labs. So at the moment we have 40 of them around the country. The final number expected is 100. We're providing training to the people in those libraries. So we're training the trainers. On the next step, we like supervising their lessons and their way of teaching, and preparing materials, guides, everything which necessary. To summarize, what we want to achieve is that we want to, so we call it like Libraries for Slovakia Consortium. And our main goal is to intensify the use of libraries as place to acquire all types of informations, long life learning, computer and Industry 4 skills, creativity development and support for innovations for all age groups. So don't let people die without knowing that they are creative. And I'm sure the libraries could help in that. So to answer the Jitka questions, she asked in the beginning, we feel that the open science is an opportunity to build the creativity of the people. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much. And thank you to our 3 speakers so far for doing a fantastic job of keeping to time. It's very much appreciated. Our last 2 speakers in this session are from Florida State University Libraries. We have René, who is the Director of STEM Libraries at Florida State University. He leads a team of folks who work to meet the research and learning needs of STEM scholars on the campus, and they provide specialized library services and research data support. He has an MLIS MS in, sorry, let me start that again. He has an MLIS and an MS in Urban and Regional Planning and a Bachelor's of Science in, Bachelor's in Political Science from Florida State University. And our other colleague we're hearing from today is Dr. Nick who is the Research Data Management Librarian at Florida State. He assists with the development of data services for STEM scholars and provides support on topics related to research data management and data information literacy. He's also the subject librarian for the chemistry, statistics, computer science, and scientific computing departments. Prior to joining FSU Libraries, Nick earned a Doctor of Philosophy in Chemistry from Washington University. He's also received a Bachelor of Science in Chemistry with a minor in Mathematics from Quincy University, and his current research interests include research data services, open science, and data information literacy for undergraduates and graduate students. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for that introduction. Hi, folks. Good morning. My name is Julian. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about some of the work that we have done here at Florida State University to create capacity and create structure and space to work in open science and to meet the open science goals of scholars here at Florida State. And then we're going to spend the second part of the presentation talking specifically about one of our open science initiatives, which is the Data Fellows Project, and Dr. Ruhs is going to lead that discussion here in a couple minutes. I'm going to start by providing a little bit of history and context about our team, the STEM Libraries Department. We were formed in 2017, about 5 years ago, as part of a larger reorganization. And our focus was to create new and specialized library services specifically to meet the research and learning needs of STEM scholars. And we spent the first year or two of sort of our team's infancy, if you will, engaging and creating relationships with faculty, students, and staff in STEM disciplines so that we could learn a little bit more about what their needs are and what they need help from the library with. And so, like I said, we focus on creating specialized library services that are new. This is our team, real quickly. We have a lot of interesting and neat roles. We have a GIS and our sciences librarian, of course, a research data management librarian, who you'll hear from soon. We have librarians working specifically in open science space and health data as well. So it's a really exciting, cool group of people to work with. And our current focus, right, we have three current focuses. The first is exploring strategies and partnerships that will allow us to streamline some of the traditional subject librarian work that our team is charged with providing. And secondly, with some of that space created from streamlining, we want to pilot new services and new initiatives that advance open science competencies and capabilities across our campus. We want to upskill students and researchers in open science. And then we also want to continue to build on the foundation of data services that our group and others in the libraries have been building for several years now, specifically related to research data management planning support, but also data visualization and analysis services. We have challenges that we face in our work, as do all library teams. And one of them is our own desire to do new and innovative things and to contribute in spaces that are in alignment with our organizational values. We very much want to find ways to tear down barriers of access to information and scholarship. And we really want to enrich and enhance research and scholarship for the science scholars that we serve. But since we have such a small team and such a very large group of folks that we have to, that we are charged for providing library services for, we have to be creative in how we do that. And we have to build partnerships, like I mentioned earlier. The demands of the scholars that we serve can be challenging at times, and we do often get asked to do things that we don't know how to do. But we do keep track of those questions so that we can develop those skills, hire folks that do have those skills, and acquire those materials and resources as necessary. I'm not going to read through these departments, but I've listed below the academic departments that our group works closely with. So the way we respond to those challenges is to strategically build partnerships in the libraries and also across campus so that we can create new library services that not only meet the demands of today, but also meet the emerging demands of our scholars tomorrow. And this includes, we partner with our distance learning office to create Canvas modules that are subject specific. We partner with different groups in the library to create different types of learning modules so that we don't have to necessarily teach every single library instruction session. And I believe one of our keynotes yesterday talked a little bit about that, which made us happy to hear. And our other response is finding ways to make library services, traditional services like reference and library instruction, more scalable. And we're trying to do that through different technology solutions, but also different structural solutions and different strategies for fielding like research consultations and things like that. So in the attempt to create capacity for open science, we had to find ways to streamline our existing work. And so our IT group in the library actually uses a tool called Request Tracker. And it is kind of like a customer, it's sort of like a CRM, and you can submit tickets, and it has a queue that can be managed by everyone on the team or administrators. And we actually sort of copied what other groups in the libraries were doing. Our digital research and scholarship team and our special collections group already use this tool to take in research consultations. They put these things on their websites. So traditionally, a lot of the actual subject librarians themselves provide a lot of the support directly for meeting information needs. But in this model, we're piloting and experimenting with putting many of the questions in a queue and letting librarians and staff field them on a first come, first served basis, so that one or two colleagues doesn't get so overloaded that they can't work on their other projects. The other thing that we've done to create a little bit of capacity for open science is we actually put open science and open research roles into our position. So Dr. Ruhs was originally hired as a STEM data librarian, which included doing a lot of things. But he has spent so much of his time focusing specifically on research data management, open data, finding solutions to make data fair, findable, accessible, interoperable, and reproducible. And so we changed his role to research data management librarian to better reflect his contributions on campus. We've done the same things with another librarian who was a STEM librarian was their title, and now they do GIS and earth sciences work because they've grown, their roles have evolved over the years. And when those roles evolved, we actually make the formal changes so that we can better communicate our value to stakeholders on campus. And so those two things help us do the third thing, which is focus on work that really requires our expertise in research data management, data visualization, systematic reviews, things that take a lot of time and expertise and upskilling on the side to get good at. So here are a few of our strategies that we're implementing right now to support open science. We are trying to take a prototype approach, iterative approach to piloting new services and programs so that we can assess in real time, and also, quite frankly, to be able to pivot and move away from those projects if we're not achieving goals and we're not connecting with the target audiences that we're trying to connect with. So by doing things in pilot mode, we're able to commit to short-term time periods and try different things and gather data. We want to support effective data stewardship through the way we teach research data management. We want to not only help folks meet federal funder mandates, but we want to explain and advocate for why it's important to make research data open and to make methods open and to make information open and accessible to other researchers and other scholars. And then lastly, we are sort of working on this idea of helping scholars create what you call an open toolbox. And this is different data analysis and project management and citation tools that are free and open source, so that researchers, while they're here at FSU and learning how to do these skills, they leave with a suite of open tools that they can use anywhere, regardless of their employment status or what company they decide to work for, what they have access to. And so in teaching and supporting open tools, we prioritize those tools. We want to prioritize resources that folks can have access to after they graduate. So we teach a lot with Zotero, the citation management system. We do workshops on RStudio, Tableau Public, tools that folks have access to, because we want to empower researchers to do things on their own and to not rely on proprietary resources. But it's really important to note that we do teach with proprietary resources, because it wouldn't be reasonable not to. The employers that hire our students expect them to be good at things like Excel, especially in STEM. MATLAB is a program that it's required that folks have competency in that. And we do teach that because it's important, but we also do prioritize open. So it's really about trying to be reasonable and trying to find that balance, if you will. And so I'm going to quickly talk about 3 of our pilot programs, actually only 2, because then I'm going to turn it over to Nick, and he's going to take us home by talking about the data fellows. We're piloting new GIS services. The reason I list that under open science is because we are actually focusing on free and open tools, like I mentioned earlier, such as Quantum GIS and Google Earth. QGIS can do a lot of the things that its proprietary counterpart ArcGIS can do, but it is free and open source. And we teach with that so that folks can create maps and do spatial data visualization and spatial data analysis with something that they can download on the internet and not have to purchase. We've also been serving our faculty here on campus and other ARR libraries to help us develop these open GIS services in a way that's scalable and sustainable. Another thing we're working on is our institution has been a member of the Open Science Framework for a couple of years, which is a online project management tool that helps advance open science. If you've never heard of it, I'd encourage you to check out the Center for Open Science and learn more about it. But we actually have a librarian who's going to be dedicating a very large part of her portfolio specifically to supporting this tool so that we can actually realize the full benefits of the Open Science Framework and be able to provide some sort of training, education, but also advocacy around the tool and what it's trying to do on campus so that we can better support our scholars with that resource. And then with this last one, I'm going to turn it over to Nick, and he's going to talk about the Data Fellows Program.
All right, thank you, Renee. That was a really nice overview of some of the background behind our work and what we do. Now I'm going to focus on one of our specific initiatives that I've led over the last year or so, and that is the Data Fellows Program. And this program really focuses on our students, so our undergraduate, our graduate students, and really building a community of data practitioners, of data stewards, and sort of bringing up the next generation of data experts. Before I do that, I want to give a quick background in how this initiative, this fellowship program came about. So in 2020, Florida State University Libraries released its strategic plan for the years 2020 to 2023. And within that plan, there were 5 goals, as you see on the screen. I'm not going to read every single one of them. But as part of the launch of this plan, library faculty and staff were invited to submit initiatives that would achieve some or all of these goals. And as Renee has sort of alluded to before, and based on a lot of the data work that we've done before and data management and data information literacy, we believed a program that would help upskill our students in these areas would meet all of these goals in some way, shape, or form. An initiative such as this would also align with the Florida State University strategic goals of ensuring student success and preparing them for 21st century careers, as data skills are increasingly valued by employers as students are graduating. So in order to meet these needs and enhance our own data services work and scale that at FSU Libraries, I led the submission of a strategic initiative proposal. The full name of the proposal is Building a Community of STEM Data Scholars. The proposal was accepted as a pilot project to begin in fall 2021. So we've been doing this for about a year at this point. And the main component of this program was the creation of a STEM Data Fellowship Program, wherein FSU Libraries would bring in students and create opportunities for them to do teaching, research support, and outreach around data and data services to different academic departments. We also wanted to include a professional development aspect to this program for the students to benefit and kind of enhance their own professional skills as they were getting ready to go out into the workforce. And so we brought on 2 data fellows for this past school year, and I'm going to spend the rest of the presentation just briefly discussing some of the work and programs that we put into place as part of this fellowship. So the first I want to discuss is about research and instructional support. So we collaborated with our teaching, learning, and engagement team within the libraries to launch what we're called a data virtual reference channel. And this channel was part of our library-wide Ask a Librarian chat service that normally has librarians and reference associates available to answer basic reference questions, such as finding articles, data sets, etc. But we developed a specific data channel that the data fellows staffed for up to 4 hours a week. And they were available to help students with finding data sets, navigating our resources, referring folks to librarians if they needed help with research data management plans, and so forth. Both of our fellows also provided support for our data workshops at FSU libraries, specifically as part of a series called Data at Your Desk. And in this series, we teach various sessions on open tools such as Python and R, but also proprietary tools such as MATLAB and Excel that Renee mentioned earlier. The fellows served as Zoom moderators, so we did a lot of these either virtually or hybrid due to the pandemic. And in one instance, one of the fellows actually co-taught an introductory workshop on MATLAB with me this past spring. He was an engineering major and had a lot of expertise in that area, so it was a good opportunity for him to sort of gain teaching skills and take part in our series. Another major component of the initiative was outreach and engagement. The fellows were also specifically working with registered student organizations or clubs on campus, primarily in the STEM fields, but also in adjacent fields as well. They first did an email campaign to various organizations as identified by our Knoll Central website, which houses information about our various organizations and clubs. As a result of this, we were able to meet and correspond directly with several of these organizations and had the opportunity to actually meet with some of the students and their members to further promote our library's data services and good data stewardship. The fellows also co-wrote some blog posts or informational articles on various topics, such as big data and data analysis software for careers. And these articles were primarily targeted at undergraduate students and graduate students, and were sort of written for a general audience for all levels of data expertise. They were published on our library's blog sites. And together, the two articles that are listed have, to this date, actually received over 250 views. So they've been viewed quite readily by students and even some faculty at FSU, which sort of provides really good exposure for our fellows, really good experience, and is a good way to engage with our community. They've also provided some support for different activities that we do as a library, such as our Love Data Week, where we partner with our marketing team and other librarians to promote good data stewardship and different services. I mentioned professional development briefly at the beginning. We wanted to, in addition to the benefits we were getting as a library, we wanted to provide the fellows with the opportunity to sort of upskill in what areas they were interested in and help prepare them for their future careers. One way that we achieved this amongst several over this past year was holding discussion sessions and demonstrations around various topics, methods related to data and data careers. We partnered with several of our colleagues within the libraries and at the university who were really happy to come and talk with the fellows. We had some really engaging discussions. And we covered a wide variety of topics, including open data, open science, government data, and data in our special collections. We also invited our career liaisons from our career center to come and speak with us as well. And then just very briefly, in the interest of time, I'll mention a couple of projects that our fellows have worked on. Diego, who is our chemical engineering major who recently graduated, developed a MATLAB Canvas module covering some of the core concepts of MATLAB. And we actually got interest from a professor in our engineering school who Diego knew through previous contact. And we were able to integrate this into his chemical engineering lab course as supplementary material. And then Eli, who is our other data fellow, designed and conducted a survey assessing undergraduate engagement with our research data services, what they knew about these services and which one they were interested in. This was sort of to help us plan future data outreach activities and services for the libraries and for this specific program. We're currently working on the analysis for that as we speak. And then just to conclude some future steps for the initiative, we're hoping to include the fellows in developing more asynchronous modules and some live instruction in classrooms, have them co-teach and co-develop some of our data workshops, hire another cohort of fellows for this coming academic year. And then also, since we now have 1 year and we have one student that will be staying with us, sort of develop a mentorship model where our senior fellows will be able to help mentor our younger fellows that are just coming into the program. And with that, thank you very much. And we look forward to any questions or discussion.
Okay, thank you very much to our speakers today. I will ask if there's any questions.
Good morning. Good morning. Aisha Johnson, Georgia Tech. This is for Renee and Nicholas, fellow Seminole. I want you to talk more about your role as research data management and if you have plans to develop a research data management department.
We don't have plans to create a research data management department. We provide, we actually used to provide a lot less dedicated RDM support, and actually making it a full-time job instead of just sort of a part-time role was a step in that direction. But I would say that is probably going to largely be based on demand. But we are pretty busy in the data management realm. As far as specifics on what we're doing, I'm going to turn it over to Nick because he does the majority of that work.
Sure. So the main areas that I help with data management include consultations where we'll meet one-on-one or in groups with faculty or graduate students who are looking for assistance with developing their plans when they're submitting grants, like for the National Science Foundation, Department of Energy. And that'll include at all steps of writing a data management plan, both from conception to its conclusion. And we promote various data resources, such as the data management plan tool is one that we're a member of as an institution. So we work with faculty and students to sort of shepherd them through that process. We also do instruction sessions for in partnership with various groups on campus, such as our Office of Research Development and our sponsored research administration, where we're sort of getting out there and just talking to faculty, and giving them sort of basic information about what a data management plan is, where to find funder guidance, and like data documentation, the different things that you have to work on with a data management plan. And so those are the primary areas that we do. I anticipate with the new National Institutes of Health data sharing plan that we will be doing some more work in that area and collaborating with our folks at our medical school and in our health sciences in the coming year as well.
I got some of the same feeling during the last presentation as I got during John Lippicott's presentation yesterday. I was impressed. Good ideas. We should do this. We should do this. After a while, I started to feel a little frustrated because, of course, transforming libraries is to develop new services, but transforming libraries is also to stop doing something. What did you stop to do to have time to develop these services?
Well, we're still working on that because that's a big challenge. Some of the things we've done is prioritizing asynchronous instruction, which means we have to do the work once or twice. So by leveraging some of the vendor tools that already exist and using them in place of library instruction, we rely on our collection development team to make great recommendations and analysis, and we collaborate with them to make decisions, which means that collection development isn't a very big part of our portfolio. We don't spend a lot of time reviewing slips and ordering materials and doing that. Quite frankly, because we don't get asked to order a lot of things. Scientists are mostly concerned with the journal subscriptions and making sure that they have that content. So by streamlining the subject library and work, we're hoping that it creates less sort of day-to-day work and teaching sort of the same classes over and over again. But like you mentioned, there's a lot more work to do. And I think those are the strategies we need to explore. So not necessarily, we're not doing we're not stopping doing anything per se, but we're doing more things in partnership and trying to do it in a way that takes less effort, if that makes sense.
Question from Talia?
Yes, thank you. I have a question for our colleagues from Slovakia, specifically with respect to the citizen science piece that you spoke of, which is really, really, really interesting. And I think it echoes a little bit of what we heard from another speaker yesterday about demystifying science for the ordinary citizen and breaking down those barriers. So I wonder if you can speak a little bit about how that piece has come about. Is it in alignment with government policy or government direction? And whether you've thought about what will be the sustainability of it in the years to come, because we know these technology pieces, these labs, they require evergreening, not just the hardware, but also the people skills. So I'd love to hear more. Thank you.
Thank you. In fact, I think all governments around the world talking about innovations these days. Unfortunately, innovations has to do with creativity, and based on actual research, the kids are losing creativity at the 5th class of a school, latest on 7th. So we didn't attract people to think, to be creative till the 10, 12 years. Then it's really difficult to attract them. So our government is preparing a couple of, let's say, calls with the funding for developing an innovative approach in capacity building, which is long-term. So we're expecting to have it ready by the end of this year, the first round. But as I mentioned, we're creating an environment around the country in a small, relatively small public libraries, where this is going to be just like an attachment to the regular activity, and a lot of synergies come out of that. So there is no real need to invest a lot because the equipment is not that expensive. The expertise is the most expensive. So we need the people inside, but these people we can train by ourselves. So I have a team like 7 people which traveling around the country and providing trainings to these people. And we all the time bringing something new. So we are working on development of those people. So yes, from the financial point of view, it's not gonna be that expensive. And it don't need any massive investments to make people creative. Over time, now we're working more or less with the kids. When we wanna start with people from 25 to 65, and we really want to work in area of industry 4, then it's gonna be more about programming, about sensors, about big machines, which works in the factories. But on the other side, I had, once I heard the presentation on a city. Somebody says that when the robots take care of the city, that there's no people needed anymore for the healthcare providing. And he says that I think it was in Norway, that the number of doctors doubled because this new technology brings new opportunities for people. So it doesn't necessarily mean that the robots steals the work from the people. So there is an opportunity to use robot to make our work more efficient, or we have a time to other development, but we need to have creative people to do so. And this is our role as a university or national technical libraries to work with really low level people, with the people which don't have capacity to provide that kind of education. So we're just trying to do that low cost in the country. So we'll see results, at least for the first year. I think it's more than 4,000 people passed the trainings, and we trained like 200 trainers already, and it's no cost. Or no, can't say no cost, but at least the premises are there, the technology is there, the people are there, they are paid. So they're doing it as their regular job. They just not doing the stuff they did in the past in the library, they're doing something new, let's say.
We have a question from online.
Yes, we have a question that came through Zoom. It doesn't specify who, so I'm assuming this is going out to everyone. It's from Connie Bitso, and she's asking, what challenges do you encounter in your open science education and advocacy endeavors?
I'll be brief so that other presenters can answer too. One of the biggest challenges is the lack of understanding around the why libraries would be involved in open science and why are we participating in the space? Why are we teaching open source tools and open data? And it just requires education and patience and putting yourselves in other people's shoes and understanding that as libraries, we haven't always communicated what we do the most effectively. And that goes with our local institution too. We would try really, really hard, but it's hard to make users aware of everything that we can do and everything that we want to do. And so that's the biggest part, is sort of just making that connection between open science and the library on campus.
Do our other speakers want to respond to the question? No? Okay. All right, let's draw that to a close then. Thank you everybody for your time and attention this morning. Let's thank everybody with a round of applause.